Hey, good afternoon to you. Mark Sutt with HurricaneTrack.com here. Hurricane Outlook and discussion time as we discuss several hurricanes. Isaac is a hurricane. Helene is a hurricane. Of course, Florence is a hurricane. And out in the Pacific, the Central Pacific, we do have Hurricane Olivia that'll be bearing down on Hawaii. It is a very busy time in the tropics, a very serious time. A lot of things going on affecting a lot of people. You thought last year was bad. At least those came one at a time. This seems to be coming all at once. We have threats certainly to the Carolinas and beyond, probably, and of course to the Lesser Antilles from Isaac. And luckily Helene has passed far enough away from the Cabo Verde Islands to not be a problem. We used to call that area the Cape Verde Islands, just in case you're wondering, what is he talking about? So this is my office behind me and whatever. This is where I work. It's in my home in Wilmington, North Carolina, where the eye of Hurricane Florence is forecast by the European model, at least the operational version. At the 12Z run today, I posted this on Twitter, and it's forecast to literally be that this office, this house that I'm in Wilmington, would be in the eye of Category 4 Florence on Thursday afternoon. How likely is that to happen? Well, it's not very likely when you think about it to get that direct of a hit in a 102-hour forecast. That's asking to be pretty precise. Nevertheless, the effects in and around Wilmington could be pretty bad, and we're definitely preparing for that. I'm going to talk a little bit more about me personally, my family. You know, I'm not just somebody who tracks hurricanes. I have a family, and I'm going to talk about that later because that's important to, I think, let you realize that there's more to this than just what I do with the logo on my shirt, the business that I run. I do have a family, and we are concerned, and we're taking action. But we'll get to that, all right? I'm not going to hide it, though. That's what I'm getting at. I want to make sure you understand that, you know, I'm human, too, and I can be affected. So let's take a look real quick. As if you didn't know that it was busy, this is a great illustration of such. All these hurricanes, and this is upgraded now. They're all hurricanes now. Plus, we have this system out here, I have no idea how to pronounce that will be headed towards parts of the western Pacific for an eventual landfall. So the tropics globally are extremely busy. All right, first, let's take a look at Olivia. We're going to go west to east here, okay? This is Olivia, and it's got a little bit of a flare-up overall, an increase in convective activity. It's fighting against lower thermodynamic energy, I guess is the best way to put it. The water temperatures are getting cooler. The air is going to be more stable because of that. And even as it turns southward toward Hawaii, I do believe that it will lose some of its structure even more. And as we can see here, the forecast has it passing the center of what's left over of Olivia, right over the big island of Hawaii. And with that counterclockwise rotation, remember, it's counterclockwise, so the winds will be coming around this way, the upslope flow possibly with moisture over Maui and Oahu and possibly as far west, though I doubt it, as Kauai is definitely there. So weird year for Hawaii. Don't know what to say. It's just one of those situations. Be ready for this. No watches or warnings yet. We will talk more about impacts once those watches and warnings do go up. All right, so we can get rid of that tab. Here on the wide satellite shot, this is from tropicaltidbits.com. The awesome Levi Cowan coding this so we can get a nice animation. This is a new area of concern. 20% chance of development, but reading some information from a meteorologist here in the Houston area. Some of the ensemble guidance does suggest that this might find more favorable conditions in the northwest Gulf. Nevertheless, a lot of rain headed that way, it does appear. So, what in the world? I mean, it's too much. You know that old expression, I'm going to cry uncle. We do have more on our plate than we know what to do with. So we got to watch this. Here is Florence, strengthening, poised to become a very intense hurricane. I won't be surprised in the least bit if it becomes a Category 5. Likewise, I won't be surprised if it peaks out at only 130 or something like that. Only. These things are hard to predict intensity-wise, so just be prepared. And then here is Hurricane Isaac, and now I do believe this is Hurricane Helene. and there is a little bit more energy trying to come off of Africa. It's not over yet. So let's go through, and I know it says it's going to go from west to east, but I want to kind of skip that and go to Isaac here in the middle of the pack. This is the forecast over the next several days, passing through the islands there, and the track has nudged just ever so slightly north from the Wednesday through Thursday time frame here. But nevertheless, you folks in the islands, I won't say, I think Barbados, you're probably on the good side of this, and then point south, Grenada down to Trinidad and Tobago, but areas north that were impacted so severely by Irma and then Maria last year could be impacted by possible hurricane conditions. Heavy rainfall, you know the drill by now, and it's just unfortunate that this is right on top of what we had last year, and it's coming right out of the main development region. All that talk about how hostile it was due to the cooler sea surface temperatures means absolutely nothing right now. And it just goes to show you we have a long way to go. So we'll watch this, and again, no watches or warnings up for this area just yet. And as we get closer to all of these landfalls, and they're all going to happen at almost the same time. How is that possible? That's just crazy. This will approach the Lesser Antilles, and then Florence will approach the southeast U.S. all on about Thursday. Helene, you know what? I guess Isaac is not a hurricane. Is that right? Helene, Isaac, almost a hurricane. So I will correct myself. I know you've probably all along in the video been like, it's not a hurricane, it's not a hurricane. Isaac's almost a hurricane. My fault. Got ahead of myself. It is forecast to become a hurricane, and we've already talked about that. So my apologies for screwing that up. Now, Helene is a hurricane, and luckily it's moving away from the Cabo Verde Islands here, and we'll just have to see where this ends up. I noticed on I think it was the GFS, I thought it was this system that kind of winds up over here somewhere. I just couldn't believe my eyes. But at least it's not bothering land right now. I mean, just what in the world? This is nuts. So let's talk about Florence, because this is very serious. Forecast to become a major hurricane. This is the public advisory. We'll take a look real quick at the stats. 24.4, 57 west, 85 mile per hour winds, and is moving due west at a bearing of 270 degrees on the compass. The air pressure is falling down to 975 millibars, and it is strengthening. No watches or warnings in effect. They do expect it in the discussion and outlook here to increase steadily, becoming a major hurricane rather quickly. The only hazards affecting land right now, the surf. Swells are increasing along the coast, Bermuda, the southeast coast, etc. Please, when you go to the beach, just check the local conditions. Very important that you pay attention to that. If you're surfing out there, this is going to be a giant surf machine. Please be careful. It's undoubtedly going to happen. Florence will kill people in the surf long before it gets here. It's just the way it goes. There's too many people that go in the ocean that don't know their limitations, and we're going to see that coming. That is my rather sobering, bold prediction. So let's read the discussion. Well, you know what? Let's look at the map first, the track map. Hopefully that has updated. 5 p.m. It sure has. All right, so a couple things to note on the track map. Certainly it becomes a major hurricane. You notice the cone is extending into North Carolina solidly now, making landfall here in southeast North Carolina. And day 5 is much closer to day 4, which is pretty far away from day 3, if I have all that right. Why? Why is that? Because this is the new, oh, really? You've got to be kidding me now. And I'm not. This could end up being a coastal devastation and then an inland devastation from the flood. And I don't know what else to say. I mean, we have to really buckle down and take this seriously, because the makings of an epic disaster are there. That doesn't mean it's guaranteed to happen. Do not get me wrong. There is always a room, well, not always, but there is still some wiggle room, but we're running out of time for that to be in our favor. The coastal impact with storm surge, perhaps some of the highest we have ever seen, and in some pretty populated areas. The wind damage will be exceptional. And then we have the possibility of inland flooding, the freshwater problem, rivers. I mean, we just went through Matthew a couple of years ago, and now we're going to be dealing with this. For those of you that remember Fran in 1996, 22 years ago, and here we go again with something similar, maybe more intense. So be ready, all right? And this is still waiting to play out, but this is not looking good. So I want to read the discussion because it's going to also spell some things out very scientifically for you, and I'll try to break it down. Oh, it's the 11 a.m. discussion, I guess. Mr. Blake, there it is. Beautiful. All right, so let me blow this up so I can read it better. All right, so what is this? First of all, let me just tell you what am I reading here. Let me describe this to you. The forecast discussion is where you and me get inside the head of the forecaster. In this case, it's Eric Blake, and he is one of the specialists at the Hurricane Center, and this gives you his reasoning behind why his name is stamped on that forecast. You understand? So let's read what he has to say. The last reconnaissance fix indicated that the pressure had fallen to about 978 millibars with Florence, a drop of about 6 millibars in 4 hours, with uncontaminated step frequency microwave radiometer winds of about 70 knots. Since then, the satellite presentation, and I'm going to highlight things that stand out, that's one of my habits, has continued to improve, with intensifying deep convection near the center. Thus, the wind speed is increased or set to 75 knots on this advisory. All right? Radar data from the NOAA Hurricane Hunter indicated that there were still a few breaks in the eye wall, possibly allowing some dry air to mix into the core. This structure has potentially kept Florence from intensifying rapidly so far. It is likely, however, that the eye wall will close soon with low environmental shear present, resulting in a faster intensification rate. The guidance is remarkably well clustered. That stands out to me as negative. That's bad for us. With all the hurricane models showing Category 4 strength within 48 hours, which is uncommon, given the current intensity. The new forecast continues to show rapid intensification as an increased 5 or 10 knots at most time periods, but is still not as high as the Florida State Super Ensemble or the NOAA-corrected consensus models, and I haven't seen those. It is worth noting that the model guidance is also significantly increasing the size of Florence's wind field over the next few days, and the official forecast reflects this trend. Horrible, horrible, horrible. This is dreadful, folks. The fixes from the aircraft indicate that Florence hasn't gained much latitude yet and continues moving westward at about 6 knots. There is no change to the synoptic reason, as a very strong ridge is forecast to build over the northwestern Atlantic. During the next few days, this pattern should steer Florence west-northwestward at a much faster forward speed by Tuesday. On Wednesday, the hurricane will likely turn northwestward and slow down somewhat due to another ridge forming over the Ohio Valley. The most notable change from the previous advisory, let's highlight that, most notable change, is that most of the models are showing a faster motion in 3 or 4 days, which unfortunately increases the risk of a destructive hurricane landfall. The GFS and its ensemble mean are outliers from the main model envelope. That's interesting and unfortunate, showing the system near the Outer Banks, while the rest of the guidance is well to the southwest. While a near miss isn't impossible given the spread of the ECMWF ensemble, there is much more support for a track to the southwest, especially considering the poleward bias of the GFS thus far this season. Therefore, the official forecast track is shifted a little bit to the southwest and is very close to the corrected consensus models. Boy, oh boy, it just keeps getting worse. The NOAA Gulfstream 4 jet is conducting a synoptic surveillance mission this afternoon to gather data near and around Florence for assimilation into the numerical models, and these missions will continue through Tuesday. In addition, upper air stations across portions of the central and eastern U.S. are conducting special 6Z and 18Z, I know it says UTC, radio sonde launches. They're launching weather balloons more times per day, that's what that's saying, to collect extra data for the numerical models. Hopefully this data will help to improve the track and intensity forecasts. There is increasing risk of 2 life-threatening impacts from Florence: storm surge at the coast and freshwater flooding from a prolonged heavy rainfall event inland. While it is too soon to determine the exact timing, location, and magnitude, obviously interest at the coast and inland from South Carolina into the Mid-Atlantic region, you notice, thankfully, Florida, Georgia taken out of the equation, should closely monitor the progress of Florence. And, make sure you got your you-know-what in order. Large swells affecting Bermuda and the East Coast will continue, and that's just the precursor to everything. Oh, that's just great. I hadn't seen this yet. 85 miles per hour, 105, and then there's forecasting 150 miles per hour, and then a landfall near 140, and then it dies off inland, of course. Well, what can I say? We'll get back. I'm going to have some commentary in just a moment. So over here, let's use white. That's the heavy rainfall. This will change. We can hone in on this later. Also notice the possible impacts in Texas. The United States going to have its hands full with a massive hurricane disaster coming up at the end of the week. It's really weird because right here, it's Sunday afternoon. I'm putting this video together to inform you, and yet I know that by the end of the week, lives are going to change in profound and possibly very sad ways. Property will be destroyed, homes and the items in those homes swept away, never to be seen again along parts of the coast. Trees are going to fall, power is going to be out, people are going to be frightened. It is going to be a very, very stressful and ugly time for some portion of the Carolina coast. There's no getting away from it this time, it does appear. There's a slim chance, but it's almost ready to leave town, as the saying goes. What is it? Slim to none, and one of them left town or something like that? I'll try to bring a little bit of humor into this, because otherwise I think we would all break down and just go in the corner, suck our thumbs, and cry. That is not the solution to this. Neither is being angry. You can't be angry at me for bringing you this information. Don't be angry at the hurricane. Nature does not know evil. Nature just does what nature does. And we have to make sure that we are smart enough as evolved human beings to make the right choices and do the right things, use common sense to avoid being killed. If we can do that, or injured, then we can pick up the pieces of what happens from Florence and its aftermath later on. The aftermath is what's really going to sting. Once you get through the first part, the aftermath lingers, and it's awful. Ask people in Mississippi and in Texas. I mean, we have a rich hurricane history here in this country. You would think that we would know by now, but still, it all just continues to go on with building along the coast, and we have to pay the consequences from time to time. It does look like that this will be one of those times. I will do the best that I can to bring you and provide to you. That's a combination there. The most up-to-date information that I can. I'll be preparing my family for this. I'll be preparing my equipment, and I will be doing my job. This is what I do, and I've got a great group of people that support me. And that being said, I want to talk about that for a moment. We have this new wonderful thing called crowdfunding. If you like what I do, and I'm bringing sobering yet hopefully helpful information your way, Patreon is a great way to support that, and I post all kinds of things here. It's a way to kind of engage in a different manner. Instead of just saying, can you please donate some money to my cause, I can provide a service in return. And I really enjoy the work that I do, in that I take pride in being able to deliver information that's helpful, and then when they hit land, setting up equipment to monitor what happens and show you those impacts up close and personal. It doesn't mean that I enjoy that part, and it doesn't mean that it's a positive and exciting thing like a trip to Disney World would be. But being excited about doing your job to hopefully help people and maybe even further the science along, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So if you're in the position to support what I am doing, I am not by myself. I will have several people helping, and I do have a family to support, and I might even have to write a check for the 1% deductible on the old house here. And I'm not joking about that. So, boy, it's going to be an interesting few days ahead. The bottom line, I appreciate you watching, and I appreciate those of you that are able to contribute, or maybe you purchased the app that's mentioned there underneath the title, or whatever. And just following along what I'm doing, the compliments that you give on social media. And I know I'm asking for it now, but I get very little negative feedback. Very little. There's the occasional, whatever, right? Just the angry at the world kind of comment. But I'm telling you, it's like 1 out of every 1,000 comments. It's unbelievable. And so I take that as a sign that I'm doing something right, and I appreciate that you appreciate me. All right? So I'm going to sign off here. I tried to hit the button to sign off. Get me out of there. And I'm going to keep getting ready. 2 updates per day as long as I can. If you have the app on the iPhone, it doesn't work on the Android devices anymore. I'm sorry. I just couldn't get it to do it. I'll be posting updates there. I'll be posting updates to Twitter, and I'll keep you posted along the way. And but don't just rely on me, okay? But tomorrow, Tuesday, I think I'll still be around, and I might even be here the whole time. I don't know where I'm setting up yet. I just don't. But I'm going to be working on that, and when I know, you'll know. That's it from me for now. I am Mark Sudduth of HurricaneTrack.com. Have a great rest of your Sunday, wherever you're watching from. Thanks a million for tuning in. I'll have more for you tomorrow morning.